Johann Heine, when he first discovered it, he spent 5 years measuring and working out where the sun rises and so forth, and a lot of hard work that Johann Heine did over an extended period. And it takes a lot of work and dedication to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to come here, and then, you know, it's misted in or clouded in, you're going to come back the next day. So this is the north-south line, exactly through the middle.
So, and why do you call this the Horus stone?
Because it's carved in the shape of a big bird that in Egypt would be called the Horus bird, and it was covered up to here with soil here when we first found it. So we thought that this was just a, you know, the rock came down here into a point or something and ended there. And when we cleared the soil away here, we realized that it's actually the head of the bird. And there's the nose coming out there, beautifully carved out neck. There's a fat belly over there. It's beautiful, and you stand it up, it's more than 3 meters tall. So if you stand this thing up, it's going to be spectacular. And together with the one right next to you, which is beautifully carved and pointed, look at this point, beautifully pointed to the to a tip here. This one, that rock, and that rock are the 3 rocks of Orion's belt. They're the ones that line up with the rise of Orion, you know, more than 160,000 years ago. Obviously, they've all fallen down, and it's very difficult to try and see this because it's so old. And that's what people need to keep reminding themselves of. This is so old that it boggles the mind. So we find a very strong link and a direct relationship between Horus and Orion at the rise of the sun on the spring equinox. And over here we've got what I believe is to be the head of Inanna. It comes from this piece of rock here, which is actually the body of a sphinx that has fallen over. The back of it is over there, it comes back here, and it ends here, right here. That's where it ends. And what I believe happened is that this statue was standing up here. These were obviously standing up. There's another man-shaped or a humanoid shape here, and one there. And those are standing up, and this was standing up here. And when this one fell over, the head hit that rock and it bounced back and landed over there, and then it got covered by soil. This is what we believe is Dumuzi's grave, right on the edge. It's the northern site of Adam's calendar. It's what we call the stone altar. It's a well-known holy and sacred place among the Sangomas and shamans, and I figured out from the translations in the Sumerian tablets that this is probably where Dumuzi was buried, where Inanna came down and buried Dumuzi right here. Infrared photography suggests that there's something about 3 meters tall buried under the stone altar, and it faces east towards the pyramids. The pyramids down there, we're probably only seeing this much of them, because when the flood came through here, and that's incidentally why this hasn't been destroyed, because this was built after the flood, that's why it's still here. Otherwise, everything was covered by water here. And I think much of Adam's calendar was probably destroyed by the moving water. But because the calendar stones are facing north-south, that probably spared them from being pushed over. I don't know, these are just things that I'm thinking about. You know, you got to bring all these things together. But if you look at the pyramids down there, imagine a wall of water a kilometer high, coming from south down there, south-north, and flooding all that valley down there, and depositing all the millions and millions of tons of soil and sediment on top of the pyramids. So we suspect that the pyramids are probably only sticking out half of them, or maybe even less, because the third pyramid, there are 3 pyramids, 2 big ones and 1 small one, to the right of the 2 pyramids, just like in Giza, right? And if you look at which way the tail of the sediment is aligned, it aligns towards the north. So it also suggests that if they are indeed pyramids, which we believe they are, and the sediment came and deposited on them, it left behind a bit of a tail of sediment facing north. The statue of Inanna, which is lying down this escarpment in what we call the workshop, one of the stones that has been clearly worked and carved is clearly a bust of a human. And if this is in fact where Inanna buried Dumuzi, and Dumuzi is buried here, then that could be the statue of Inanna. And then we have the Sphinx, and the Sphinx and Isis. The Sphinx is often referred or associated with Inanna as well. Here we have, what we also have taken is infrared photographs of this spot here. And the infrared photographs tell us very clearly that there's something about 3 meters deep, buried under the soil here, about 3 meters deep, which is about 3 meters long. And we know that the Anunnaki were taller than humans, So there's another potential argument that if Dumuzi is buried here and he was the Anunnaki, the son of Enki, that he may have been 3 meters tall. He was one of the giants.
All of Natal is covered in a recent deposit of silts and sands. Very recent. That the geologists call the Masucheni Formation.
And you don't know how old that is.
And I'm trying to think, but I know it's
it'll be great if it's about 13,000 years old.
Which means, well, I know it goes from today back. So I don't know exactly how old I think it goes back to about 40,000 years or something.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Now you see, if this will be associated with the Masucheni, it'll have another name in the Transvaal. But if this is a thick layer of alluvium and colluvium material that people describe as coming down the hillsides, and because they don't think holistically, they describe it as just from here moving over into the Vlaktes. If one can say extensive deposits of that formation occurs here, then one can start saying to you, well, you know.
Yeah.
But where did the water go from here? Just north?
Yeah, I think it went north. This is the other beautiful thing I forgot to mention. If you look at the pyramids, what I believe are pyramids, if the Sumerian tablets are true and accurate, that the water and the flood moved from the south to the north, which direction would have, if you had a pyramid and it was covered by moving water from south to north, in which direction would it have left a longer depository tail of some sort? To the northern side. And that's exactly what you find there. The deposit of when you fly over it, you can see there's a deposit tail going north on both of them. Not here, not there, it goes north.
That will you see, that will go off to, you see, just logically, the water would actually, to get out of South Africa, it needs to go along the Mozambique areas out.
It'll go up through.
And you see, it would 13,000 years ago, I can guarantee it would follow the Rift Valley of Africa. So it would go all the way Malawi, Ethiopian end, where it actually exits. Funny enough, it will exit into the Red Sea and go through the Zeus Channel.
Yeah, into Egypt.
Into Egypt. Unbelievable. Okay. Very, very interesting. So that is how you can use the lichens to date how long this thing has been exposed. But remember that this actually removes it and you start over again. So the lichen can't stay here forever.
No.
So what is interesting is that one there. If that is then from 1994, now you can say, okay, that little one grew since 94 to today. That is the size.
Right, yes.
You see, and then you can start looking at that as a way of saying, in 1994 this rock was clean.
Only other thing I need to add to this, that this rock was covered in lichen already, so it's easier to seed it in this area. If you got a clean rock that's unseeded with lichen, it takes a lot longer for the lichen to establish. So those are the other important things to take into consideration. If you quote me on it, I will deny it.
Well, then it's useless.
Exactly. No, but I do that, and that's what I do. If they tell me that, I say, good, I'll quote you, but I won't mention your name. So that's what I do. So like I said earlier in my interview, I've had 2 very well-known academics in South Africa tell me things, but they told me, you may not quote me, because I will deny it, because I will lose my job.
Well, that's...
And this is the problem.
That's where my way of thinking is as long as you're prepared to reason within reason, why don't do it? Reason, and then people can comment on what you think. And you must.
Boom, please.
You shouldn't be scared
While we wait for the
to actually
helicopter.
talk about this stuff.
Exactly. You know? But some people are really scared. They are driven by fear. They're overcome by fear. They don't want to talk about anything that's outside the box. And it's like, this is what I find exciting, especially in the area that Kerry in Project Camelot, the area that they work in. They just open everything. They rip apart everything.
Yeah, well,
and they talk to people and they interview people.
That's how new thoughts are generated. You know, if you are prepared to open your mind, and in my case, you know, looking at this, this is very exciting geology, because it, you know, what is really interesting about the site here is that these rocks geologically, it's very difficult to explain why they are here. For me, it's very difficult because I'm trying to figure out the geology, and you've got the quartzites in the bottom. You've got some of this intrusive stuff up there. Then you've got the quartzites up there. Then you've got this block of intrusive stuff. And then you've got intrusive stuff over there with quartzites, and there's some dolomites over there as well. So geologically, to explain why these rocks are here, we'll need a little bit of work. You need to, and that's why I say, before you come to a final conclusion, let's do a little bit of research. Let's get electromagnetics in, let's get magnetic meter in, and just see, are we working with a dolerite dike? Now, you know, if it's a dolerite dike, then this structure was cut through this mountain, because it must be intrusive through here.
Yes.
But there's quartzites down here.
Yeah. So it can't be.
So it can't be. Okay, now the next thing, then it must be a dolerite sill, which is a structure that comes in like a blade line, but then it should extend all the way along.
Exactly. That's what I've been.
And it doesn't do that. So
now I've had a few geologists
how
say.
on earth do you get this thing here? Because it's not a dike, it's not a sill.
Yeah.
And so these rocks it's very difficult to bring them here geologically. And on the other hand, with dolerites, we know they can pop up where they want to. They molten stuff. They could come in where they can be little kind of pieces of it.
Yeah.
So it might be that this is just one dolerite intrusion. Yeah. And there's another one there.
Yeah.
Or these rocks have been carried here by human beings from over the hill, because there we know there's a lot.
Exactly.
So it's either being carried in, or they are part of the geology, and you really need to do some research to prove what you want. Yeah, if the magnetometer picks up a clear structure here, you know it's intrusive from underneath and coming in. If this is a mixture of loose rocks with magnetics going everywhere, then you know these things have been dumped here and stacked and left.
Exactly.
And that is the kind of thing that I'm prepared to go on record with. I don't mind saying it, I don't know. You know why? It's easy to say I don't know, let's find out. And
exactly.
Once you found out,
not many people are brave enough to say I don't know.
Yeah,
or even say what you just said now, to say that these are the possibilities, and that it is confusing. Even just from a geological perspective, looking at this, the fact that we know this is a line with the sunrises, the equinoxes, the solstices, with north, south, east, west. I mean, that's a huge, that is a huge discovery. I mean, God bless Johann Heine for finding this, you know, because I think this is one of the most important clues to the origins of humankind that we have. Because I've got stone tools and stone artifacts that are just outside the paradigm of normal stone tools. Then, in fact, when I started showing these archaeologists these stone tools, they told me, no, these aren't stone tools, this is just, you're just imagining things. And I say, well, come and have a look at a collection of these. Oh, geez, okay, now you see a repetitive pattern. And it covers the whole area, and you start realizing that they all come from near the stone circles. And you realize, hold on, and these are not normal, these are not carved stone tools. They are molded. They look like they've been molded. Okay, so it's not something that you carved, a typical kind of hand axes and scrapers and something different.
So for me, from a geological point of view, and the uncertainty as to where these rocks actually come from. For me, the context is important. Is that we are here looking at something that is related to the bigger picture of what you discovered. You know, these circular things and the whole of the environment we're looking at. So if you as a geologist want to explain how the rocks got here, you have to come from a certain angle. Now, if you can't use the geology and you then say, but in the context of this entire area, people have been carried rocks around like you wouldn't believe it. And look at your circular structures. I mean, there people were carrying rocks for kilometers and stacked them. So then immediately it's not impossible that somebody actually did carry the rocks here. And that see, that is why the possibility of people bringing rocks is there now.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the bigger picture of